5 miles. Whew, we got about halfway down here. Time for lunch. And it's 40 degrees. A little over 40. We started way up there and went back and forth all the way.
There you go.
This is the hypothermia dance, huh? Inside out. Around down here to the left. And over here, we'll be heading down to the Colorado River soon. The second one in, the white one, is Donk. That's my horse. Oh, my mule. Pretty area. Quite a few bumps in this road. Come on. Come on, Don.
Grandkids, grandparents, everyone would have lived here. They didn't spend much time indoors, so most of this is storage. The big one in the center is called a kiva. That's where they would hold all of their religious and community practices.
That sun's starting to head down. Looks like we're looking up at mountains and we're really in the Grand Canyon. Pretty neat. It's over 100 degrees here in the summer. Those cottonwood trees are going through fall. And it's 2 days before Christmas. A little bit better shot of the creek, or the creek, depending on where you're from. And it goes under this bridge here. And heads into the Colorado River. Don't see any rafting there this time of year. 3 o'clock and it's 50 degrees. And this is a campground here. You can see they have a box on there for the food, so the bears and everything don't get into it, especially the squirrels. And look who's coming down the road. Look who's here. My goodness, when I was riding that mule down, I'm thinking, how in the world are you guys going to walk that? And then you got to walk all the way back up tomorrow, huh? It's amazing.
It's awesome.
Well,
Are you still going to be on the wheel tomorrow?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Either that, or unless they send me a helicopter, it'll be a mule.
It's more.
They say,
It's more down here than you think.
oh, it's 50 degrees down here right now.
I'm alright.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're- Well, put your hood on.
I was ready.
Oh, I thought that was a hood there. We're looking back toward the river. You can see all the cottonwood trees. How lit up they are and how neat they look. It was about a 6-hour ride down to Phantom Ranch, not Phantom Drive. It's beautiful. A little bit warmer down here than it was up at 5,000 feet higher. This is Phantom Ranch. We've got a lot of it closed where you have to take your food out and take it back to your cabin to eat it. So I guess we'll be doing that. But it is a steak dinner at 5 o'clock. Here's our cabin, my cabin at Phantom Ranch, and next door is where Jonathan and all the kids will be staying. Right at the base of this pretty tree. And this beautiful sky. We got some. I wonder if those are reindeer that came to see us here. Here it is. It's a family here. Well, that sun is starting to set. Get our dinner. See the sun over there and the moon over here. Time for dinner. And we're gonna get an early time to go to bed because it's going to really be a long night and we got to be up and out of here by 7. Here's my deluxe cabin. There are 4 beds, but I'm the only one here. So I won't be bothering anyone that's snoring, I guess. I think they used to have fireplaces here and they closed those off. And now they have an air conditioner heater instead. And over here, you open this up and there's a toilet in there. That works out good. And to the left of the bathroom, there's a sink with running water. We come back around and see the bunks. Only one of them has bedding because I'm the only one here. We're down around 2,300 feet and we're going to be heading up 7,000 feet. Way up. Quite a ways to go to get up to that top. We're actually just on the first part. Yeah.
Fancy meeting you here.
Oh, we just came out of a really deep area. What's that called? The devil's? The bottom part?
Yeah, that's the furnace.
The furnace. Well, we just came through the furnace. It was a lot easier coming up than it was going down looking into that deep hole. Don't have a lot of video of that because I was hanging on. Well, time for lunch break. We're here. There's a group coming down as we're going up. You can see a little bit of snow and ice up here. along these peaks on Christmas Eve. Well, we're getting up there. Aren't we, Donk? Whoa, down there, baby. Beautiful waterfall here. Wow. How beautiful.
Group on top of it. Once that top layer erodes away, it becomes this grayish color that you can see up in there. And then, well, now I'm really self-conscious about my Wrangler jokes.
Come on. I like it.
All right, and then this white stuff we have here. We sometimes like to tell people that that's petrified snow or fossilized condor poop.
Could be.
It's actually mineral staining. Way back, long time ago, there was probably that was a spillover as water would run down, and it's the calcium that gets left behind that gives it that white color. The Redwall limestone is the layer of the canyon where if you hear about caves, that's almost exclusively in the Redwall limestone. Some caves go on for miles. They find a whole lot of really cool things in there. The Grand Canyon has, I think, 15 types of its own beetle that live in the caves. And if you don't like insects, they did find a complete skeleton of a giant sloth from the Ice Ages.
Oh my god.
Yeah, hidden in one of these caves. They find evidence that the Native Americans used the cave, and they're pretty cool. I think there's only one cave in the canyon that you're actually allowed into. And they keep people blocked off and they don't tell you where they are because they find such interesting things in there. They want to preserve it until they're able to get in there and study it. So we are about to leave the basement rock layer of the Grand Canyon. All this rock that we've been staring at is the basement rock of North America. There's nothing underneath of this. And this is actually the rock that makes the Grand Canyon one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. No other place do you see this much exposed basement rock. We see it through all 277 miles. This rock is dated at 1.84 billion years old. And we're looking at schists with granite intrusions. The most common schist that we have is the Vishnu schist, and that is that really, really dark color. And the most common granite intrusion is the Zoroaster granite, which is the more pinkish marbling. The trail actually was up on that ridge line. You can kind of see the faint outline of the trail that just goes straight down. Just up here.
It's called Jacob's Ladder now.
And so to get down that, there were some rope and wooden ladders on the edge of the cliff to help get you down. So if you want a mule ride pre-1930s, you would have dismounted at the top and worked your way down. One wrangler would have gone down to the bottom, the other would have stayed up on top, smacked the mules on the bum and had them all kind of shimmy their way down on their own.
Oh, wow.
Then you would have mounted back up, rode down to the river. On your way back up, still too steep to ride, so you'd had to dismount. You would have grabbed a hold of your mule's tail and you would have smacked it on the bum and you would have had it pull you up this cliff.
Wow.
If you think that's fun, it gets better. This was early 1900s. This was kind of a first-class passenger experience. There wasn't a whole lot of traveling going on. You had to get here by train from Williams. So you would have arrived in full first-class passenger attire. So Nora, you and I would have been in full-length skirts, really impractical ankle boots, sleeves down to our wrists, carrying cute little parasols. Gentlemen, you guys would have been in 3-piece woolen suits. And back in those days, this was a summer experience only. The trail was too narrow and too dicey for anybody to try and do it in the winter. So imagine dressing like that, climbing down rope wooden ladders, and it's 105 degrees outside.
No thanks. Got quite a ways to go up to the top. Another couple thousand feet. Got some sheep up there. Quite a view. Quite a ride down here. We got about 2 more miles to go, huh?
Yep.
About 10.
Yeah, it's about 9 if you hike it.
Where we've been.
Like from on the Bright Angel to Phantom Ranch.
Because you can take the footbridge.
Yeah. But that we have to keep going on the river trail is what gives us the extra mile.
Okay, we're in Echo Canyon and we're gonna see if it works.
Yeah. Mules on 3. You guys ready?
Yep.
1,
One.
2, 3.
Yo! Oh yeah, it worked. Rule. Mules rule, right? Oh no, okay.
Oh, here we go. I think I got it.
You got it on the who. Yeah. Going to walk.
Than it was to mine. But then those donkeys, they didn't really want to deal with them anymore, so they just kind of turned them loose. And one of those donkeys was Brighty of the Grand Canyon. We're not really sure how Brighty ended up loose, whether his owner passed away or whether he was just turned loose, but we do know that he was primarily out on the North Rim. And Brighty, for whatever reason, befriended this 10-year-old boy named Bob. And they were just really great friends. Brighty they kind of like adopted him, like he was a part of their family, so he would just like come and go, but when he was around, they would do rides. He's famous for liking pancakes. Really cute. A newspaper at one point did like a feel-good article about Bob and Brighty. And then in the 1950s, a woman named Marguerite Henry wrote a book about him. Marguerite Henry is a huge like children's author, or was a huge children's author, who really focused on like horse stories, which is why I know her so well. Your homework is look her up. Her book King of the Wind was my favorite book growing up. But she wrote a book about Brighty and Bob and all of the adventures, but pretty theatrical sized. Is that a word?
It is now.
I've made it a word. And super popular, great book. Pardon me, I haven't done the story in a while. Really out competing a lot of the native wildlife. So they would outcompete bighorn sheep. They would terrorize the dirt, their little hooves, and donkeys reproduce like rabbits. So their population would get out of control. And so to control the population, the Park Service would come in and just quietly cull the population. Until the 1970s, when all of the kids from the 50s who grew up reading Brighty of the Grand Canyon found out of the Park Service's plan to cull the herd. And that public outrage over these donkeys, the public was like, don't kill Brighty. The Park Service got a lot of bad publicity over this. Huge, big deal. But the Park Service's hands were kind of tied. They don't have a lot of funding. The donkeys out competing the bighorn sheep. They didn't really know what to do. And I will tell you what they did at our next stop. Henry actually organized a letter writing campaign for all of her fans to write into the Park Service and say, they're killing Brighty. You have to write in. Tell him to stop. And I forgot to mention, there was actually a statue of Brighty in the visitor center for a very long time because it was a cute story, very popular During this time, they actually took that statue down because they didn't want anybody new finding out about Brighty. Because, I mean, and you have to like try and sympathize with them because really, the donkeys are out competing. They're an invasive species. They're really doing a lot of damage, and now they're up against the public outrage. And not that anybody wants donkeys to die, but it was the cheapest option. There was such an uproar over this that a nonprofit actually found out about this and was like, "Hey, give us a year. Let's see if we can raise some funds to see if we can do anything for these donkeys." And the Park Service was like, "Okay, but a year is all we can spare because we really need to work on this." And so Marguerite Henry again reached out to her fans and was like, "Hey, there's this program. We're gonna do something for the donkeys." And that nonprofit was actually able to raise over $6 million to save the donkeys. And so what they did
Save their ass.
was they hired a whole bunch of cowboys and Catahoula dogs, and there was the Great Donkey Roundup of the Grand Canyon.
Oh my God.
The more docile of the donkeys, they got put on boats. They down at Phantom, they herded them down to the river. They put them on boats and took them out that way. The more stubborn donkeys got a little chemical cocktail and got flown out. And as soon as the first pictures of that hit the papers, donations came pouring in. And it was a very, very well-funded endeavor.
Wow.
They actually, during that time, were able to round up all of the donkeys out of the Grand Canyon. And they moved them to an animal sanctuary in western Texas, where I think all but 94 of them were able to get adopted. And those 94 did. They just lived out in Texas the rest of their life.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's why, if you've heard of donkeys in the Grand Canyon, that's why there's no more donkeys. There's actually that statue of Brighty did come out of retirement, and it's actually up in the North Rim Visitor Center, because that is where Brighty's home was.
Well, we're getting there. What do we got, about another mile or so?
That's why you
Yeah,
got a muzzle
we're about
on.
to come up on the mile.
I'd have to make 3 or 4 more stops, unless I was a mule. Or even if I was a mule, I guess. Interesting rock. It looks like it fell off the rest of them. That is one big and deep Grand Canyon. Wow.
So starting in the mid to late 1870s, there was a huge mining boom here in the Grand Canyon. John Wesley Powell had come through on his expedition. He'd published a lot of papers, and everybody thought that this was going to be a gold mine. So lots of prospectors came out searching for gold. Unfortunately, the Grand Canyon really only has small amounts of copper, some uranium, and asbestos here and there. All of those materials ended up being more expensive to mine and transport out of the canyon than they were to sell, because I think the nearest refinery was in New Mexico, so they had to ship it a long way. So mining didn't last too long, but all those prospectors that came out used donkeys to carry their goods in and out of the canyon. Some mules,
That was quite a ride. Quite a ride.
Heartbreak Hill. It's called that because of hikers. In the mind of a super excited hiker, you're going downhill, you're hiking the Grand Canyon, so you only remember there either being one tunnel or that the tunnels are very close together. So as you're on your way up, you're exhausted. You hit that second tunnel or that first tunnel, and you're like, oh, thank goodness, I'm almost to the top. You come around that corner and you see you've got this really, really long hill to go. Another long switchback. Then the second tunnel, another switchback, and then you're finally at the top. So it just breaks your heart. For us, it's more like home free hill because the mules will be up in no time. And this is our second to last stop, so we should be out in the next 15 minutes or so. 15, 20 minutes?
All right.
Almost there, guys.
We're just about there. There's the second tunnel. Let's see where we were. Quite a ride. Well, we're back.
Of all the places we went, a whole bunch of places
Here we are on
to
top.
go. It's also got the names and pictures on there if you guys want to check it out.
Yeah, my name's on the bottom.
Get the certificate. You are all now officially in the order of Master Mule Skinners of the Grand Canyon Trails. All right.
First is what's your name? Then you got second. Well, that guy's just weird. Doesn't even use what you name do that right. Look at T coming in third place, beating up El Alejo. Then Alejo. He's tired because he says it's a heavy bag. We don't really blame him. And then the photographer in last place.